I think very similar discussions to those you see in the Pentagon, and those are two good examples of where the military are at the forefront. It falls into a number of categories. One, that the military are required not only to deal with the current threats and challenges to the security of their respective nations, but also need to be prepared for the future and, where possible, to reduce the risks to the future. And we saw that in this country in our Strategic Defence and Security Review in 2010 and in subsequent action discussions, close collaboration with colleagues in the Pentagon, both in the context of what it means in the way of missions and tasks. There's obviously humanitarian assistance and disaster relief around the world, but there's also how we can help in the conflict prevention piece, as well as conflict resolution. The military will always have to have the ability to do conflict resolution, but we will both the SDSR, Strategic Defence Security Review, and the Quadrennial Defence Review in America in 2010 both made the point about the move towards conflict prevention. Subsequently, we saw the Building Stability Overseas agenda here in the United Kingdom, the strategy signed by DFID, Secretary of State for DFID, Defence and Foreign Secretary. But also, as well as all of that, there's the piece about, do we have the right kit, the right capabilities? And a classic example of that is the military using energy. We've always used energy. It's always been there. I mean, Napoleon needed fodder. Patton broke out in Normandy, raced across France and came to a grinding halt because he'd run out of fuel. We use huge amounts of fuel today in the military. And in places like Afghanistan, it's all had to be brought in through a convoy across roads. That has a cost factor associated with it, and it's not just a financial one. Lives are being lost. It risks our ability to do our business, and therefore it constrains our outputs. And as a result, both here in the United Kingdom and in America, a lot of work has gone into being more energy efficient, having a plan that drives down the amount of energy you use, but also to use alternative energies where appropriate. To roll out solar blankets, photovoltaic cells to charge batteries, but optimising the equipment to reduce energy consumption. And we would anticipate in the UK, I think, that we can reduce the amount of fuel we use in our main operating base by about 50%.
Wow, 50%. What,
the aim is to reduce the amount of fuel in the main base by 50%, which means fewer convoys, fewer risks. The American military have done some work which reckons that there's one casualty every 24 convoys. And if you look at the amount of fuel that's moved around theatre, we took 120 million litres into theatre in 2010.
Wow, so it kind of brings it home.
And all of that then can have a read across the wider society. In the sense, in the same way we saw solar panels, GPS, the internet coming out of space and defence in the past, then we can be a test bed for some of the technology, because on occasion we have to take greater risks than perhaps in the civilian sector.